Okay, so do you want to talk about anything from last time or हम continue करें?
No, I'm good. Continue question. And I'm gonna revise my 1 or 2 sessions, and then I think we can have some.
Okay. Anyway, last time we didn't cover too much content in the sense of the
Yeah.
recording. Let me do this.
कर सकते हैं। ये मेरा मैंने एक जो कुछ भी एक परमाणु अंश जितने भी हैं एक दूसरे को पहचानते हैं। लेने के लिए जब हम प्रवृत्त होते हैं हमारे पास रास्ता सुगम हो जाता है। मेरे स्वयं के अनुभव के अनुसार, इतना दिन के अनुभव के अनुसार, हम किसी से लदकर जीना नहीं चाहा, ये बात सही है। वैसे ही मैं सोचता हूँ आप भी हैं। मैंने समझदार बनने के लिए पूरा सामग्री है और नहीं समझदार बनना चाहता है उसके लिए भी सामग्री है।
हाँ, इधर से
हम संबंधों को
I remember because of this lady in the stream. Hi Manju ji. I think वो audio से connect हो रहा है. I'll go back like 2 minutes. Hello, शुरू करूँ मैं फिर connecting to audio. Hi.
Can you see me? Hi.
Hi. Can't see you, but I can hear you now. Ah. Yeah.
I had the question ready.
Yeah.
Start to hear?
Yeah. Let's hear it and let's go thoda sa aage because I feel like it might get addressed in case.
Okay, let's go aage, then I'll tell you. It's already written down somewhere. I was wanting to send it.
Okay.
Did some editing, then I left.
ठीक है.
It was all ready yesterday. Then after yesterday's talk, there was slight editing it needed.
Okay, good. ठीक है. Let's listen थोड़ा सा आगे what he has to say.
Yeah.
रास्ता सुगम हो जाता है, वो है संबंधों को पहचानने की बात और मूल्यों को निर्वाह करने की बात। ये दोनों बात सटीकता से मैंने चरितार्थ होता है, उसी समय से हमारे पास मूल्यांकन करने का जो अधिकार है प्रयोग होता है, फलस्वरूप उभय तृप्ति उसका ध्रुवीकरण करता है।
Right, this is where we had heard till last time that when we wish to address the issues in front of us, when we embark on that path and embark on the path of understanding, the path before it in front of us is very clear, which is to understand justice and to understand relationships and the values inherent in them. And as soon as we understand that, as soon as that fructifies, we can we then develop the authority, or then we attain the authority to also be able to do evaluation, and that is anchored on the basis, all this evaluation of justice is anchored on,
my class is on.
Anchored on mutual fulfillment.
हम संबंधों को पहचाना हो या नहीं पहचाना हो, इसका ध्रुवीकरण उभय तृप्ति के आधार पर हो पाता है, दूसरा कोई विधि से।
Right. So whether I have recognized the relationship or not, that can only be anchored on the basis of mutual fulfillment, and there is no other way of otherwise anchoring such a an evaluation.
न्याय का कोई भी प्रमाण मिलने वाला नहीं है।
There is no other evidence you will be able to find of justice otherwise, other than this.
जिसको यदि हम ठीक से हृदयंगम करें, ये इतना सहज क्रिया है संबंधों को पहचानना, क्योंकि हरदम संबंध समीचीन है।
And other than this, I didn't understand. बाद में बता देना.
Other than this was other than mutual fulfillment. Like there is no way of evidencing justice other than through checking whether both parties have been fulfilled or not. So that is the only way of evidencing justice.
Okay.
Right. So then he says that if we are to internalize this properly, we realize that this is such a straightforward and natural thing that
है संबंधों को पहचानना, क्योंकि हरदम संबंध समीचीन है।
it is so natural and straightforward to recognize this recognizing of relationships, because relationships are samichin, are all ever present around us all the time.
यह कोई पैदा नहीं करना है, इसकी
Samichin is like contemporary. So he's saying that because relationships are always contemporary, we are always surrounded by relationships.
के लिए कोई लैबोरेटरी डालना नहीं है, इसके लिए कोई पंचवर्षीय योजना बनाना नहीं है और शतवर्षीय योजना भी नहीं बनाना है। सीधा
So for this we need no laboratories that we need to we don't need to establish any laboratories, and we don't need to build any 5-year plans, and I don't know, Shatvarshi must be 6-year plans, and neither do we need to build any 6-year plans.
सीधा सीधा समीचीन संबंधों को पहचानना है।
Very straightforwardly, we need to recognize our contemporary relationships.
समीचीनता जो कैसी रहती है पूछा जाए तो उसका उत्तर यही अस्तित्व में रखी हुई है। चारों तरफ फैला रहता है संबंध।
So contemporariness, if someone were to ask what this contemporariness is, then the answer to that is already lies in existence. That which is, you know, spread out all around us. That which is all around us.
उसको हम समझे चाहे ना समझे।
Now we may understand that, or we may choose to not understand that.
जैसा जो तमाम प्रकार की औषधियां चाहे मनुष्य जहाँ रहता है उसके सभी वो उगाई रहता है, उसमें जो पहचानना ना पहचानना मनुष्य के स्वयं के उद्देश्य, स्वयं के उत्सव, स्वयं के आवश्यकता, उसके अनुसार प्रयास।
So for instance, all various kinds of medicines and medicinal plants do exist wherever human beings exist, but whether we recognize it or we don't recognize it, that is up to the humans' objectives, the human being's own enthusiasm, the human being's needs.
स्वयं के आवश्यकता, उसके अनुसार प्रयास, इन चारों भाग मिलकर के वस्तु को पहचानना।
And according to that, their own attempts. So basically all of this is there to be recognized, but whether we recognize it or not depends on our own objectives, our own enthusiasm and our needs, and then according to all three of these, our attempts, our efforts, and all four of these together will determine whether we recognize it.
बन जाता है। तो कई लोग कई चीजों को पहचाने रहते हैं, वहीं बहुत सारे लोग नहीं पहचाने रहते हैं।
So therefore, in the same place, there might be several people who recognize all of these medicinal plants, whereas at the same time, in the same place, several people also don't recognize those same things.
दोनों चीज को हर देश, हर काल, हर मनुष्य के साथ इसको सर्वेक्षण किया जा सकता है।
And both these situations can be surveyed in all nations, all places, हर देश, सर्वकाल।
बहुत सारे लोग नहीं पहचाने रहते हैं। इन दोनों चीज को हर देश, हर काल, हर मनुष्य के साथ इसको सर्वेक्षण किया जा सकता है।
Which can be surveyed in all places and all times by all individuals.
इस ढंग से हम इस निष्कर्ष पर आते हैं, मनुष्य अपने में ही स्वतंत्र है, समझदार बनने ना बनने। जो यदि समझदार बनना चाहता है तो उस स्थिति में समझदार बनने का भी परिस्थितियां समीचीन है।
So in this way we reach this conclusion that human beings are independent, they are free, whether they want to become knowledgeable or they don't want to become knowledgeable. If they wish to become knowledgeable, for that also the situations are accessible and contemporary.
माने समझदार बनने के लिए पूरा सामग्री है।
That is, there are full resources for if humans wish to become knowledgeable.
और नहीं समझदार बनना चाहता है उसके लिए भी सामग्री है।
And if he does not wish to become knowledgeable, then there are full resources for that as well.
और परिणाम दोनों का भिन्न है।
And the consequence of both is different.
परिणाम में हर मनुष्य यदि ना समझ के भी शुभ ही चाहता है, वो ना समझ करके शुभ घटित होने वाला नहीं है।
And in these consequences, if humans wish that there should be welfare despite not understanding, despite not becoming knowledgeable, then this lack of understanding is not going to lead to welfare.
बाकी केवल यही है, हम चाहते हैं इसीलिए हम नहीं समझते हैं।
The rest is simply that I do want it, but I don't understand it.
चाहते हैं इसीलिए समझते हैं, चाहते हैं इसीलिए हम नहीं समझते हैं, चाहते हैं इसीलिए समझते हैं। ना समझ करके शुभ घटित होने वाला नहीं है। बाकी केवल यही है, हम चाहते हैं इसीलिए हम नहीं समझते हैं, चाहते हैं इसीलिए समझते हैं। इस ढंग से जो व्यक्ति के ऊपर निर्भर, एक व्यक्ति जो अपनी जिम्मेवारी को दूसरे के ऊपर पहनाने वाली बात जो आदिकाल से चली आई, उससे हम छूट सकते हैं।
So the only thing that will happen is that if we want it, we can remain without understanding. And if we want it, then we can become knowledgeable with understanding. And in this way, we can free ourselves from this old adage, which has been going on since ancient prehistoric times, of shoving our responsibility onto someone else.
पहनाने वाली बात पर निर्भर एक व्यक्ति जो अपनी जिम्मेवारी को दूसरे के ऊपर पहनाने वाली बात,
shoving our responsibility onto someone else, it is like अपनी जिम्मेदारी दूसरे पे पहनाने, like basically imposing our responsibilities as though they were actually someone else's. That adage we can free ourselves of in this way, when we realize that if we want it, we can become knowledgeable. If we don't want, and if we want it, we can also choose not to be knowledgeable. Both are our own choices.
जो आदिकाल से चली आई, उससे हम छूट सकते हैं। इसी को हम पुरोहितवाद की मुक्ति कहता हूं।
And it is this itself that I call freedom from priestlyhood, from something like that, priestism, or basically head of this heroism, religious heroism, exclusivism, something like that. I'll have to think of a word. If you think of something, then let me know.
मेरे भाषा में
In
उसके
my
बारे में
language.
और भी गंभीरता से सोचा जा सकता है, और कोई भाषा आपको अनुकूल पड़ता है, आप लोग प्रयोग कर सकते हैं।
So he was also saying this. So yeah, in my language, this is what I call freedom from purohitvad, or priestism. And if you feel like there is any other language you wish to give to this, you can use some other language for it also. And this is, he was also going to say the same.
इसमें कोई शंका नहीं है। मेरे स्वयं के अनुभव के अनुसार, इतना दिन के अनुभव के अनुसार, हम किसी से लद कर जीना नहीं चाहा, ये बात सही है। वैसे ही मैं सोचता हूँ, आप भी किसी से, किसी वस्तु से लद कर जीना आप भी नहीं चाहेंगे।
You're saying, you can find some other language for the same thing. There's no problem in that. But in my own experience of so many years, I have found that I do not wish to live hanging off of someone else. And therefore, I believe that neither do you wish to live while hanging off of someone else, basically depending on someone else.
और फंस करके भी जीना नहीं चाहते हो, ये भी बात सच्चाई है। मैं भी फंस करके जीना नहीं चाहा।
And neither do you wish to live trapped in any way. This is also the truth. And even I didn't want to live trapped in any way.
इन दोनों में हम समानता का अनुभव करता हूँ, कम से कम कल्पना तो कर ही सकता हूँ। ये इस विधि से हम सबका उद्देश्य ऐसा लगता है कि हम कहीं ना कहीं समझदार होना ही चाहते हैं। वो समझदार होने की स्थिति न्याय से शुरू होता है।
And in both of these, this not wanting to hang off of others and not wanting to live trapped in anything, in both of these, I experience equality among us. And even if and even if not that, then I can definitely at least imagine it to be this way. And what was it?
सबका उद्देश्य ऐसा लगता है कि हम कहीं ना कहीं समझदार होना ही चाहते हैं। वो समझदार होने की स्थिति न्याय से शुरू होता है।
So in this way, it seems like all of our objectives are the same, that we all want to become knowledgeable, and the beginning of this understanding starts with justice. So how did he reach understanding? He's reaching there because to be free to not be dependent on others or to not feel trapped in anything requires you to be knowledgeable. And therefore, since no one wants to be in that situation, therefore everyone does wish to be knowledgeable by that logic. And in that way, we have the same objective. And for that, the process is also the same. The first part of that is to understand justice.
न्याय का प्रमाणीकरण कहाँ होगा, पहला कहाँ से शुरू होगा, ये एक मार्मिक प्रश्न हर व्यक्ति के साथ भी आता है।
So the evidence of justice, where will this happen and from where will it begin? That is a very central key question that emerges in every individual.
ये एक मार्मिक प्रश्न हर व्यक्ति के साथ भी आता है। जब है ही नहीं तो कहाँ से शुरू करें? जैसा इस धरती पर सर्वप्रथम गुफा कंधरों में रहने वाला आदमी के सम्मुख महल वगैरह को एक चित्रित करने की तरीका थी नहीं उस समय।
So the question is, if there is no justice, where will it come from? Where will it begin? So to answer that, ever since when humans lived in caves and there was no basis for them to be able to imagine or visualize palaces or cities,
में से चलकर एक महल को चित्रित करने वाले जगह तक हम आ गए। यही क्रम है। तो हम एक समय में संबंधों को पहचानते नहीं रहे, एक समय आ गया हम संबंधों को पहचानना शुरू कर दिया। इतने
So from that time when we couldn't possibly have imagined palaces, to this point where we are now able to imagine palaces, we have traversed this entire distance. It is as simple as that. At one point, we were unable to recognize relationships, and we can move towards the point where we are able to recognize those relationships.
नई बात है।
This is all.
संबंध जो है ना सभी और जुड़ा ही है हमसे, मैं पहचानता नहीं हूँ। यहीं तक इसका परेशानी का घर है।
Because relationships are such that they are constantly attached to me in all situations. It is just that I don't recognize them, and that is where the problem lies.
जिस क्षण से हम संबंधों को पहचानना शुरू किया, उसी मुहूर्त से हम अपने आप से जीवन सहज मूल्यों का निष्पत्ति होना।
From the moment that we start recognizing relationships, from that very moment, it is absolutely natural to the Jeevan that from that very moment, the associated values will begin to flow.
जैसा ही हम मूल्य को मैंने संबंध को पहचाना, मूल्य अपने आप से बहने लगती है फलस्वरूप निर्वाह होता है, उसका मूल्यांकन होने पर उभय तृप्ति होती है।
So from the moment I recognize the relationship, consequently, from that very moment, the values start to flow. As a consequence, they are the nirvaha hota hai means something like you correspond accordingly in behavior on the basis of these values. And so basically, these values are affected in behavior, and as a consequence of that, they can be evaluated, and consequently that leads to mutual fulfillment.
फलस्वरूप निर्वाह होता है, उसका मूल्यांकन होने पर उभय तृप्ति होती है। ये हर समय
So when those get evaluated, then that leads to mutual fulfillment. This happens in each relationship.
What does he mean by recognized relationship? He would have known, no? His mother is a mother. So that is recognizing a relationship.
Right. That's a good question. What does he mean really by recognizing a relationship? So I'll just try to cover that very briefly just now, maybe because I feel like he might go into more detail. Because yeah, when he's saying, see, when we recognize relationship, immediately the values will flow. So yeah, child does recognize their mother as a mother, and therefore the child feels, that sort of tenderness and gentleness and respect, and that willingness to uh, emulate the mother. All of that does naturally flow because the child immediately recognizes that relationship. And in fact, it'll happen with anyone that the child decides to recognize as mother. It doesn't have to be the biological mother. So anyone that the child recognizes in that relationship, they'll start behaving with them in that way automatically. So that actually forms evidence of what he's saying. But so mother is one such role. But as we grow up, we also stop um some. So this role of mother is easily recognizable actually from even before we are born and as humans. But even that is not fully appreciated really. Actually, this is something I was talking about yesterday also. As you grow older, you are not able to fully recognize what this role or status of mother really is, what that relationship of mother child really is. So to the extent that we recognize that relationship, to the extent that we understand it, we feel accordingly, we emote accordingly, and we live accordingly. But wherever that gap emerges of our understanding and our appreciation of that relationship, that is the gap that then gets left as a lacuna, where that fulfillment does not happen, where people feel like my child does not appreciate me, does not appreciate what I do for them, or the child feels that the parents are not doing for them as they're supposed to be doing, because there is some disconnect on what each party feels that relationship is supposed to be. So that means that we recognize it to some extent, even the mother-child role, but we don't fully understand it. That therefore, वो थोड़ा disconnect हो जाता है. If we had all understood what a mother means and we all agreed to it, then we would have no disagreements regarding these, no? And we wouldn't feel kind of adrift even in our parent-child relationships. So that is something very key. But then other relationships become even more vague because okay, so this is a mother. But what is a grandparent? What is a friend? What is a sibling supposed to be? And so we know these words. We have some vague notion of them, but we don't really understand what they are. So if we don't understand them, how can we recognize them fully? But this is an important thing to, this doesn't answer the question of what recognizing it means. It's just indication towards that recognizing means understanding the fullness of that relationship. But what is that full relationship? That I have not yet answered. So hopefully that will get answered slowly over here.
Okay.
1 second, let me just close this door. Yeah.
रखी हुई बात, संबंध सदा समीचीन है, ये बात रखी हुई बात है, तृप्ति होती ही। ये हर संबंधों में रखी हुई बात है, संबंध सदा समीचीन है। ये
So this whole process of recognizing the relationship, the values flowing very naturally from that, then them becoming evaluated and leading to mutual fulfillment. All of this is something that is true for every single relationship.
ये बात इसको ध्रुवीकरण करने की आवश्यकता है।
And this is what needs to be anchored. This is a possibility in each relationship. It needs to be anchored. Anchored means that now it will be stable. It won't be flimsy or vague or movable.
जो न्याय हम पाना चाहते हैं, न्याय प्रदायी क्षमता को पैदा करना है। कैसा पैदा?
So we naturally already seek justice, but we need to develop this capacity to be able to provide justice. All of us already seek it, but we don't have the capacity to provide it. So how do we develop this capacity?
पैदा करेंगे हम संबंधों को पहचानने की स्थिति में।
How will we develop this capacity? In the state of recognizing relationships.
संबंधों को पहचानने की विधि क्या बनी? प्रयोजन के आधार पर।
And how do we go about recognizing relationships? How do we reach the state of recognizing relationships? On the basis of purposes. So what is the purpose?
माँ को यदि पहचानते हैं हम, तो संरक्षण में स्वयं सुरक्षित रहना चाहते हैं, पोषित रहना चाहते हैं। पोषण स्रोत को हम माँ कहते हैं, नाम।
So if we look at this relation of mother, what is it that is called the mother? So then security, or rather we wish to be secured and we wish to be nourished. And the
I forgot
source,
what is the word. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
How do we recognize relationship? You just said no. First,
purpose,
how do we
prayojano.
have a capacity to be just provide justice? Then
Hmm.
how do we recognize? Then we have to recognize. And how do we? What is the word he said? What's the word you said?
प्रयोजनों के आधार पर, which is on the basis of purpose.
Purpose. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So like for instance, like he's giving the example now, mother. Now, what is this mother that we recognize, right? We know that every individual wishes when they are born to be protected. Sanrakshit is like security, to be wishes to be protected and wishes to be nourished. And the source of that protection and nourishment is the mother.
पोषित रहना चाहते हैं। पोषण स्रोत को हम माँ कहते हैं, नाम है।
So the source of nourishment is what we call mother. Mother is the name.
और पिता इसीलिए कहते हैं हम सुरक्षित रहना चाहते हैं। संरक्षण स्रोत को हम पिता कहते हैं।
And whom do we call the father? Because we wish to be secured, therefore the source of security is whom we call father.
और प्रामाणिकता स्रोत को गुरु कहते हैं, जिज्ञासा स्रोत को हम शिष्य कहते हैं।
So and then the source for evidence is what we give the name teacher. The source of curiosity is the name we give to the student. So in the sense that, are you getting the gist of it? We all have this need for nourishment, to be nourished, and the person from whom we get nourishment, we give the name mother. We wish to be secured, and the person from where we get security, that person is that is the person that we give the title father to. And then the person, and we need evidence, but from the person from where we see evidence and authenticity, that is the person to whom we give the title of teacher. And we wish to be evidenced ourselves, and we wish to have someone who is curious about our evidence. So the source from which that curiosity emanates is the person that we give the title student to. So this is how he's defining what relationships really are. That this is the purpose of each relationship.
But when he said guru and student, why did you convert the guru part to teacher? Teacher, he would have said adhyapak.
I mean,
Because
it's
I
a
think
very
he's saying more
slight
like a
difference.
mentor.
Yeah,
he's
because actually when he is talking about adhyapaks or shikshaks in his literature also, any teacher is actually only a teacher when they have any sort of evidence. So before that, you're not a teacher because you are not taking responsibility for helping anyone else. Because if you have not understood yourself, how can you take the responsibility for helping anyone else understand, right?
Hindi word for teacher is adhyapak, no?
Adhyapak, Shikshak, Guru, these are all the same thing. In English, we take the word Guru because separately because in our current systems, teachers have zero responsibility in a manner of speaking. Gurus have a weightier stature because
of the non-academic curriculum, no?
yeah,
They go beyond academics, the guru. So I think he was referring to that part, no?
No, in fact, here he's qualifying all teachers. It's not, the teacher is not someone who teaches you ABCD or academics. The teacher is someone who is presenting evidence. Even the teacher for class 1, for a class 1 student, even they have to be someone who has evidence and the basis of their teaching. Because इसमें there he says कि सीखा हुआ ही सिखाएगा. So if it's something physical, say, you want to learn stitching, for instance, you will go to someone who knows how to stitch. So therefore, that person can be your teacher in stitching only if they can evidence stitching, right? So सीखे हुए को सिखाया जा सकता है. मतलब if you are someone जो सीखा हुआ है वही सिखाएगा, जो समझा हुआ है वही समझाएगा, और जो जिया हुआ है वही जिया will help you live also. So in any case, whatever stature of teacher you may be, a teacher truly has to be someone who actually has evidence. Otherwise, they are just like sharing their own journey. Like, I'm sharing, I'm not your teacher, I'm just a student myself, and whatever I've understood, I'm sharing. But since I have no evidence really, I can't take the responsibility of getting you to reach evidence either. So in that way, the qualification of even the lowermost teacher is very high actually compared to our current system.
Okay.
That's why I don't have any qualms saying teacher simply, because even teacher is something very high in here.
और अभ्युदय स्रोत को भाई, मित्र, बहन इनको कहते हैं.
And the source of, now Abhyuday is a difficult word. Let me just see how it can be. Are either of you familiar with Abhyuday? Abhyuday means like, like सब कुछ अच्छा होना. It's like welfare in a way.
Rita, this is my most favorite, or you say most hateful topic, and I have lots of questions. So I'll be interrupting.
Yeah.
So I'm now that means what came to my mind, like a child wants nourishment from the mother, right?
No,
and
slightly different. The person from whom he expects nourishment is given the title mother.
Okay, I meant it that way, but okay, I put it that way. And from the father, the expectation or the equation in the relationship is that he's a protector. Okay, but that is when I've got an answer to my thing myself. That as the child grows up, he really doesn't need nourishment from his mother. No? He learns to nourish himself. Then what is the role of the mother? And that is where the problems really start.
Right.
One of them is ready to change the role, but maybe the mother is still not ready to change the role. She's running around a 30-year-old son, beta khalo or whatever it is supposed to be.
Yes. Truly, so that's true.
And after some time, the son doesn't want the father's security. He finds it, maybe he'll say, I need space, and these new words have come up now. You're claustrophobic and
even if you don't need security, you won't automatically go to space. But yeah, you will become the provider of security for others also at a certain point. No, ideally. In fact, wouldn't every parent want it also? Ki kabhi to mera
yeah,
beta.
but then they don't because they can't give up that control or desire to be. No, so then that's where the problem comes. Okay, I got my answers to problems.
Yeah, that's where the problem comes up, because we don't know what that relationship is all about when that person has reached that status.
Changed now when the equations are changing.
Yeah, that also gets addressed. It comes in a bit of nitty-gritty later on. Basically, what happens, from how I've understood it, is that every parent, that role is supposed to be of nourishment and security. A is what is really meant by nourishment and what is really meant by protection and security is something also to be understood. But of course, most primarily when a child is born, very, very basically, of course, the kind of nourishment and the kind of security that the parents provide a newborn is very different from the kind of nourishment and security that they provide to a toddler or a teenager. But they still do provide it, right? But the mother won't be breastfeeding, but she'll still be nourishing in some ways. The father won't be like fixing up their maybe playpen or whatever, but they'll still be helping secure them in some other way. But as they grow up and they become completely independent and capable of, nourishing oneself and securing oneself, they can maybe join hands with the parents and take on the collective responsibility with them, because there will never be an end to people in the family who need nourishment and security, right? So, and the parents being older than the child will always have more experience on how to do that. So we can always look up to our parents and learn from them, like the elder people of the society. We can always learn from them on how to do it better. Even if I'm doing it and I'm capable of doing it now, I'm still new at it. It's like, I'm the new employee, whereas they are seniors at this task. So I still have something to learn from them. And nothing takes away from the fact that they did do all this for me my whole life when I was growing up. So that relationship of each relationship is actually all about the values also involved in it. So this value with parents most primarily is gratitude. And so, of course, naturally, when my mother is feeding me, when I'm not able to feed myself, I will naturally feel gratitude towards her. But even when I can feed myself and I'm grown up, I will still feel gratitude that she fed me all those years, right? Whether or not she's doing it anymore. So that dynamic of gratitude and care from their side does not change, even though the activities around it might change. So this is how I understand changing relationships, at least. But of course, there can be more detail and opening up of how it plays out. What do you think? Hello. Oh, you're on mute.
Don't know. I'll go through, listen to some.
Okay. So we were on the siblings. The the source of Abhyuday is the title that is what we gave the title of sibling or friend to, or brother or sister to. Now, Abhyuday means rise. Literally, it just means to rise. So, how I could translate it is something like growth or emergence or something like that. Basically, it's of growing together. That is what Abhyuday means in my understanding. Growing towards completion together. Rise means to rise towards completion. So siblings and friends are people from whom we expect to grow towards completion together, and with whom we feel this collective, this is our activity together, all together. We are going towards this. So they're like our colleagues in life, in the journey of completion. So the people that we feel this sense of sentiment with are the people that we give the title of brother or sister or friend to. I find it really nice to have it defined this way.
इसमें किसको क्या विपदा है भाई? कहाँ कौन सा विपदा से डूब जाओगे? इसको सोचने की बात है.
So, with all of these definitions, who has any problem? Who will, suffer greatly or drown with their negation of these, with their denial of such definitions? That is something worth thinking about.
ठीक है. तो इसको यदि सामने रख करके इस बात को अभी जो प्रचलित रूप में कहा जा रहा है, हमको यांत्रिक रहना है और यांत्रिकता में हमको एक्सपर्ट रहना है.
So if we contrast this with what is being prevalently proposed today, which is that we must remain mechanical and that we must become experts at mechanicalness, basically formality is what he means by mechanicalness in behavior.
माने प्रवीण रहना है. यांत्रिकता में हम प्रवीण रहने के लिए कहा जा रहा है और यांत्रिक रहने के लिए कहा जा रहा है. या क्या मनुष्य एक यंत्र है, ऐसा पूछा जाए, क्या इसका उत्तर देने वाला कोई माई बाप भी बैठा है इस धरती पर?
So we are being prevalently told to become experts at this mechanicalness, this formality. We are told to be better at formality, and which is nothing but mechanical behavior. So then the question that can be asked is, are humans machines? And there is no one, no expert, किसी का माई बाप भी इसका उत्तर देने वाला कोई बैठा है, which basically means that no experts, a father or parent or even superior is even is capable of answering this question of whether of if human beings are machines.
ये मुझसे पूछा जाए तो मैं क्या कहता हूँ, मनुष्य जो है ना यंत्र नहीं है, सारा यंत्र का रचयिता एक मनुष्य है.
If this were asked to me, I can say that human beings are not machines. They are the creators of all machines.
जितने भी अभी तक यंत्र रचित हुई है, ये सभी यंत्र का बाप मनुष्य है.
All the machines that have ever been created, the father of all those machines is the human.
इसीलिए यंत्र जो है मनुष्य को पा नहीं सकता, मनुष्य को अध्ययन नहीं कर सकता, क्योंकि मनुष्य से कम में ही यंत्र बनता है.
And therefore, humans cannot achieve mechanization. They cannot become like machines because nothing can. Exactly, how did he phrase it?
नहीं कर सकता क्योंकि मनुष्य से कम में ही यंत्र बनता है.
Because it is in less than the human that a machine is made.
एक दूसरा, सभी यंत्र जड़ प्रकृति से बनता है.
So this is the first, and secondly, all machines are made of insentient nature.
जितने भी यंत्र हम बनाएंगे, सभी यंत्र जड़ प्रकृति की वस्तु से बनते हैं.
All the machines that we may create, all those machines are created from out of insentient nature.
हर पुर्जे जड़ प्रकृति की वस्तु से ही बनते हैं. ये भी एक बहुत ही एक प्रकार से मार्मिक कथा है, व्यथा भी है. जो अभी तक की जितने भी हम यंत्र बनाए,
all parts of machines are also made up of insentient nature, and this is a very sensitive or key issue or very key story that we have created, which is
हैं पदार्थावस्था की वस्तु से ही बना पाए हैं. प्राणावस्था की वस्तु से एक भी यंत्र बना नहीं पाए हैं.
This is an interesting thing that he's saying, that even all the machines that we have developed, we have only developed using constituents from the material order. We have not even been able to create machines from the biological order, using constituents from the biological order.
ये याद रखने की बात है. अब तो मनुष्य तो बहुत दूर है.
This is something to keep in mind. And so to build humans is very far. We've only been able to manipulate the material order to make machines. We've not even been able to manipulate the biological order. Forget about the human order, the knowledge order. So we haven't even been able to manipulate the biological order to create machines of our desires.
अभी एक भी यंत्र, हम प्राण कोशाओं के साथ हम कोई यंत्र रचना कर नहीं पाए हैं.
And even till now we haven't been able to develop even a single machine using biological cells.
डिंग ऐसा हाँकते हैं तो मनुष्य जो है ना, एक यंत्र है, ऐसा डिंग हाँकते हैं.
And yet we have such high and mighty claims that humans are also a machine.
ये कहाँ तक सही होगा, कहाँ तक उचित होगा, कहाँ तक मानव परंपरा के लिए ये अभ्युदय का अर्थ को पूरा करेगा, ये सब सोचने की.
Till where is this correct? Till where is this appropriate? And till where will this allow us, allow humankind to move towards abhyuday, where abhyuday means rising towards completion.
की मुद्दा आता है. यद्यपि काफी इसमें धर्म संकट हमको भी दिखती है, क्योंकि अभी तक किया हुआ दावाएं इतने गहरी खूनों में घुल चुकी हुई है. तो हर मनुष्य एक यंत्र है और भोग के लिए एक वस्तु है, और या भोग के लिए सामग्री है, इतने ही.
Although I do see several clear dharma sankat are like dilemmas that people face. I do see clear dilemmas facing people because because they claim that humans are a machine and they are entities meant for only meant for consumption, and that they are also entities that are to be consumed.
के लिए एक वस्तु है और या भोग के लिए सामग्री है, इतने ही सोचा गया है, जबकि ऐसा नहीं है.
That is all that has been thought of, although that is not the case.
तो जब कभी अपने बच्चों के साथ जीता है, मैं जिया हूं और आप जीते हो, ऐसा लगता है मैं यंत्र भर नहीं हूं और कुछ हूं.
So this has been thought of, and yet whenever one lives with their children, I have lived with my children, one feels that I am not merely a machine. I am something more than that.
इतना तो अनुमान आप में भी होता है, मुझ में भी होता है. तो उसको प्रमाणित करने के लिए प्रयत्न की बात है. कौन
this much estimation is possible in you as well as in me. At least this much all of us can estimate. It's just all about evidencing this now. The fact that we are more than a machine.
कौन सा चीज है जो अधिक दिखता हो, केवल के लिए प्रयत्न की बात है. कौन सा चीज है जो अधिक दिखता हो. केवल यंत्र होता, हमको आगे कुछ मैंने तकलीफ होना नहीं था. यदि हर संबंधों में बच्चों के साथ, बड़ों के साथ, साथी के साथ, सहयोगी के साथ, माँ के साथ, पिता के साथ, है ना, भाई बहन के.
So it is now we all of us have this sort of estimation. Now it's all about just evidencing it. That what is this thing, me, that is more than a machine? If I were just a machine, then there were to be no issues, because then with all my relations, with my mother, with my colleague, with my parent, with my child, with my teacher, with all of them, then
के साथ किसी के साथ भी हम जीने जाता हूँ, यंत्रवत जीने जाता हूँ, उसमें हमको कहीं भी तृप्ति मिल नहीं पाती है.
Because when I go about living with any of these mechanically, I find that I find no fulfillment in that.
What does it mean by machine? No, we don't think of ourselves as machines.
Right. So
I think nobody thinks of themselves as machines. I think humans know we are not machines.
no, a lot of
What-
people, it
huh.
is claimed, humans are complex machines. What is meant by machine is, in the scientific worldview, after a certain turn that philosophy took, people started to believe that everything, all of existence, is basically machines, and therefore so are we. What is meant by being a machine is a good question. It was believed that things are happening the way they are happening due to mechanical cause and effect. That means the answer to any why is going to be found in physics, which means that, okay, you ask, it started with, why does the ball follow this trajectory when I throw it in this way? And the answer to that does lie in physics. It happens because whatever forces, the laws of motion, and you can calculate it, and therefore it follows this trajectory and lies over here. And so they're like, okay, maybe we can understand everything based on such cause and effects if we understand the physical laws that they are obeying. Because it was believed then, after Newton discovered these laws of motion, it started to be believed that everything in existence is functioning like clockwork, that we are all basically part of this gigantic, elaborate machine in which parts are just pushing each other and behaving, idhar se kuch dhakka diya to usme aisa hua. If you say, okay, why are plants growing the way they do? Oh, it's because the osmotic pressure here changes and the temperature here rises and da 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 da. These are all mechanical explanations of why, say, the mango is fruiting in May and not in September. So you can explain all those things, the answer those whys in terms of mechanical principles, it was thought. Similarly, when it came to questions of psychology,
our body can be put in that category to some extent.
That's what has been thought, but that too has proven to be a bit difficult.
To some extent that the blood flows because of the whatever. But everybody knows there's a mind and there's a emotion that no one can categorize, no?
No, everyone doesn't believe that. In fact,
That's
popularly, if you look at a very mainstream view of science, it does not believe that the mind is anything greater than the neural signals. The mind is a consequence of the brain, and the brain is a consequence of the neurons, and the neuron is a consequence of its constituent organelles and cell systems. So they say that even the mind can be understood in terms of physics. That is how it is believed in the mainstream, in science, in the scientific worldview at least, that even psychology and consciousness is an emergent phenomena of the biological system. And biology is an emergent phenomenon of chemistry, and chemistry is emergent from physics. So actually, even consciousness comes from physics. That is how they say that human psychology is nothing but physics also. At the end of the day, that is what it means. And therefore, human behavior too. So if our human mind is all physics, what is driving all of it? It is driving, so how it is believed is that, all bodies, and our mind is nothing but this component, like a CPU running this huge body, is nothing but a sort of program, a sort of software that has been coded into our brain to keep this body alive and to reproduce. That is what the purpose of any organism is. It is to stay alive and to reproduce and to propagate its own genes to the next generation. That is seen to be the driving impetus behind all living organisms, including human beings. This is also just mechanical, because it is basically the upkeep and the production of this machine that it is being pulled down to. It is all stemming from this mechanistic worldview. And so everything that we do, the purpose of everything that we do is to serve this basic purpose of maintaining the body and reproduction. So then all our interactions must also be efficient, should serve that purpose. And therefore, with this perspective, it becomes that, okay, what does it mean to maintain this body? Now, what does it mean to reproduce? That means we consume all that this body needs to consume and wishes to consume, and then we reproduce so that the next of our kind can also do the same. So therefore, the purpose becomes consumption. And so all our interactions, all our relationships are all there to serve this purpose of consumption and propagation. And that is what is proposed in the materialistic worldview. And then, of course, there are slight variations on this primary thought. But that is what it means to be mechanical in one's behavior, mechanical, and considering oneself a machine. Machine means that you are disregarding the reality of values and purpose and meaningfulness. A lot of scientists now say that meaning is something that is imposed. It is nothing there is no such thing as meaning. World is a meaningless bit, it's like scattered dust around us, and it is us that is imposing meaning onto it. The purpose of a child being born or taking care of them is so that we can care for them. Care is a meaning, is a purpose, or that ecosystems remaining balanced. That is something that we are imposing. There is no such thing as balance in ecosystems. Ecosystems are just existing. They happen to be, but there is no such thing as balance. Balance is something humans are imposing when we look at some activities happening around us. Otherwise, it's just a tree with leaves falling, and the tree is exhaling some output and taking in some input. And all of this is happening as a consequence. Randomly, by chance, they end up sustaining each other, but there's no such thing as natural balance. So this is one philosophy. This is a materialistic, mechanistic philosophy, which believes that there is no meaning in reality. Meanings are nothing but a fiction, composition of our imagination, the figment of our imagination. And he is saying, no, there is a reality called bhav, called meaning, called purpose, and we need to recognize that reality. Because we feel that reality. We feel it every day when we are living with our children. We do not feel that this is just a mechanical procedure to propagate our genes. We actually feel for them. So that is something we already feel. We just need to evidence it and understand it in its entirety.
It's surprising that anyone can think like this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one end of the spectrum of our strange ideas of humanity, the pure materialist view.
Okay. I didn't even know it was like.
Yeah. No, of course, it's not common to come across the pure theory of this kind when we're living our everyday lives, because no one believes in this purity on an everyday basis. We actually live with a mixture of materialism and idealism in our life. It's only people who really gone about distilling the theory and being clear about the theory who are actually aware that, oh, this is what we believe. Otherwise, that belief lies underneath, but we're not aware of it. Because we do believe consumption makes us happy, right? That itself is a mechanical sort of view, that our happiness lies in consumption. And at some level, we also believe that, sab kuch chhoot jana, to be freed of all connections, is also some sort of happiness. That is coming from the idealistic end of the spectrum. But we don't fully, we don't fully adhere to that entire belief system, but we do have some elements of it that we have incorporated it in our personal belief systems. But all of these elements are coming from two types of philosophies. That is materialism and idealism. So that's what he's saying we need to become more aware of. So when we say that consumption, our happiness lies in consumption, that is coming from the belief of materialism, which believes at the end of the day that we are machines. But if you think about it, you will realize that no, you do not feel like you are a machine. Similarly, when we feel like our happiness lies in detachment, that belief is coming from a tradition of thought, which if you trace, it leads to the fact that I do not exist. But if you pay attention and you look into yourself, you realize, no, I do exist. You feel it already. But we need to understand both these feelings better. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, so it's past 7:30, so let's pause here. We can move on tomorrow. But yeah, what was the question? What was the question you had written down?
Okay, I'll make it very, I scratched my head. I mean, I really finally zoomed down to the question like this. After thinking this way, telling how many pages, nay, not this. This is not my question. Does Jeevan Vidya philosophy understand, acknowledge, accept, or doesn't, that there are different human characteristics? Okay. And let's say, let me take the worst kind. I'm not the worst, there can be worse, but let me take a bad kind. Do they think, would Jeevan Vidya study acknowledge the fact that there are narcissists? That's all. That'll answer all my questions.
Okay, great. So yes.
For now, that will answer my question.
Right. So the answer to that is yes. In fact, it is described in great detail. There are categories. Remember, we talked about categories of humans, which is humane, godly human, and divine human. There are also categories below that.
So my argument, okay.
Yeah. So there is the categories that we had discussed earlier. Human, godly human, divine human are humane categories. But then there are inhumans also. There are two types of inhuman people, of which we are a part. We also fall in one of these categories, which we'll have to judge for ourselves. They're called Pashu Manav and Rakshas Manav.
So, good and bad.
No. Both are bad.
Unjust. Just and unjust.
No. Both are unjust. So Pashu Manav means animal human. And Rakshas Manav is demonic human.
Pashu is animal and Rakshas. And what about the human one?
So this is just degrees of bad and worse.
Okay.
So there is Rakshas, Rakshas Manav, Pashu Manav, Manav, Dev Manav, Divya Manav. These are the categories. This is the range of humans.
Let's say one falls in the Manav category and one falls in...
No, these are 5 categories and we will fall in one of the 5. Now what he's saying is you can only fall, you can cross this divide between Amanav and Manav. So there's this big line dividing Manviyata and Amanviyata. And also 3 categories here, Manav, Dev Manav, Divya Manav. And 2 categories here, Rakshas Manav and Pashu Manav. Right. But you can only cross this divide upon understanding.
Okay.
So until we have understood, we are necessarily in one of these 2 categories. Either we are demonic humans or we are animalistic humans.
We are like that only.
Yeah. So we are all in that range. And then there's a description of each of these, of their perspectives, of their tendencies, all of that.
And the degrees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, if now that maybe the whole thing should start from this. Even with the Parichay should start from here. First, you have to consider that all of us are in that category, Pashu and Rakshas.
Yeah, he's saying that, we start with the fact that we are not humane. We wish to be humane, but we are not humane. So he is just giving a broad category just initially, the fact of humanity and inhumanity. So we want to graduate from inhumanity to humanity, and that is what all of this is for. Then when you explore it deeper, then you see the different variations in humanity and the variations within humanity.
So if let's say marginal manav or something, not a super manav, because super manav will know everything.
Even manav will know everything.
But we're not talking about absolutes like yesterday he pointed out, which was a very good point. And I said, one doesn't have to be 100% here or there. You can be somewhere in the middle.
No. Yeah,
Hmm.
that is something I even spoke to Jay today about it to clear it out, because there's very clear distinction. Baba even says things like nothing transfers from amanviyata to manviyata. That there's a quantum leap. There's a complete shift of being. So, there is complete shift from 4.5 to 10. He said this several times.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's another one to understand, But anyway, not for now, for today.
Yeah.
So if you're more towards Manav, but you think there's nothing like that.
No, of course there is the desire. So we are in animalistic and demonic until we are completely unconscious. Then we can become animalistic hoping to become humane, or demonistic or demonic hoping to become humane.
So
That's a transition phase.
Since many of us say wanting to become from
Humane.
animalistic to human, to
Yeah.
Manav.
Yeah.
And you have a friend or a relative or sister or someone who has decided to become from or say I have decided to become Rakshas part, and that person has started, the other person, my friend who has been my friend for so long, has now decided to become Manav.
My friend, someone has decided to become demonic, you're saying?
No, say I'm becoming demonic.
You have become, say,
I'm going towards, I prefer that route.
Okay,
and my best friend who we were on the same path, but that friend now decides to become Manav.
Humane.
Go on the Manav path. Obviously, there will be so much, there cannot be justice then in the relationship.
So here he's saying there can be, and that is that. I mean, of course, if I am only trying to become humane and I haven't become humane, then of course there will be no justice. But if either one of them, say if one person is demonic but the other is humane, there can still be justice. That's what he's saying. How and where, all those details will.
These certificates, who will give us? We ourselves.
No, the certificate is clear. As he was saying, there is no other criteria on which to judge justice other than mutual fulfillment. So both have to give each other that certificate. Otherwise, there is no certificate.
So again, going back to them. So there is no fulfillment because one is just like one is towards Manavta and one is going towards demonic.
If it's only moving towards, then it will be very difficult in that situation. There won't be any justice.
So I think most of us are in those type of things. Most. I mean, it's my assumption. Of course, I can't say, but like he also assumes that humans are this, and so assumption, what we see around, we can assume, no?
No, but he being human, he is not approaching human. He was human. So humane. With that authority, when he interacts with someone who is demonic human, there will still be justice there. There was justice there. That is what he's claiming. That is what he's declaring. Of course, we are not capable of that yet because we ourselves are not humane. So हम कहाँ से कर लेंगे? हम तो अभी with other approaching humane people only, we are making so many mistakes. So forget about someone who's really far down the line,
So unless you get to the point where he was, there's
and
no hope.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we are working towards. No, we want to be humane for ourselves.
But working towards the teacher, but one in a few can only get there because
No.
life circumstances.
No. That's what he's saying. That is what idealistic traditions used to say, that it is only for one in a few. This he's saying is for every single individual. That's what he meant in earlier today also. That if I want to be that way, we can.
It is, and people try. People are trying, saying it is for everybody. The capacity is there. But the circumstances, the weather, the location, the funds, the money, everything, the family, the responsibilities may not get you there, no?
See, this is what he was saying today, just earlier when we started the recording, that for the longest time, we have been blaming circumstances. We push off the responsibility from ourselves to somewhere else. We hang it up on others, saying this or that, or this was not conducive. But he is saying very, very straightforwardly and very particularly, actually, that as long as you choose to want to understand, you will understand. And if you choose to not understand, you will not understand. So he's saying it is solely in our hands. Because if you wish to understand, then there are all the resources and the opportunities are available. And if you don't wish to understand, then also there are as many opportunities.
There's no
And
time. Yeah, there's no time frame given. No, he just said those who desire will get it. Those who don't desire will not get it. That is easy. That is okay. That's a simple sentence that one can understand. But it's not like what all has to be done, how long it takes, why, how to go about it, what are the steps to it.
No, of course, he goes into that. That is what this is all about. He's telling us the steps to do it. He's written 14 books describing the steps and the methods and the content on how to get to it. But he's saying no matter what else there is, now all of us have access to all of these resources. He's written it all. It's all there. He didn't have any of that even. But he's saying even then, even when none of these books had been written, even then, if anyone had wanted to understand, there in existence there was opportunity and resource. Of course, it was not as easy as it is now. It's every day it becomes easier. I mean, today it's easier than it was for anyone starting out 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was easier than it was for someone starting out 20 years ago. So it does become easier, but there is still always an opportunity, always opportunities and resources for this in existence, because this is the law of existence. Humans are meant to understand. Humans are part of the knowledge order. So it's not in the air, it is not vague, it is not across several births and lifetimes. If I want to understand in this lifetime, if that becomes my top priority, I can, as he was saying earlier, but somewhere it lags behind in our priority order. This is also something he had said a while ago. What happens is that वो priority में कहीं थोड़ा नीचे होता है. We have other things that we prioritize more than
I don't think he said that.
Huh?
समझेंगे तो समझेंगे, जो नहीं समझेंगे वो नहीं समझेंगे. He never said priority type.
No, he did. He did. He said that चाहते सब हैं लेकिन वरीयता क्रम में नीचे हो जाता है.
अच्छा.
Priority में somewhere below. That is why we don't move towards. That is why we don't dedicate ourselves to it. So, yeah, he is very categorical about these things.
Okay.
ठीक है.
Okay. No.
चलो.
ठीक है. Okay.
Bye.
So according to the priority, now let's just assume. So if you want to put on a priority, what would he think one should do?
You'd say prioritize understanding. He says there is only one उपदेश in Madhyas Darshan, which is जाने हुए को मान लो, माने हुए को जान लो. So if you know anything, accept it. Accepting means to bring it into your living. And if you accept something, believe in something, then get to know it. Usko, if you've just believed it without understanding it, then understand it also. So this is the only thing. This is the only उपदेश. जो भी कुछ तो जानते हैं, कुछ तो मानते हैं. जो जाना हुआ है उसको मान लो, जो माना हुआ है उसको जान लो. That is the only thing to be done. What else is there to be done?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Rishta,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, see you.
Bye.
Bye.